Welcome back to another episode of NFL News on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host, Terry, and today got a couple things to talk about. Feeling better, thankfully. So a couple things I've seen in the news circulating that I had thoughts on, but just, couldn't sit down and be able to do this. But thankfully, I am at operating capacity. Wouldn't say 100%, but we're there. So first off, let's kick it off with LeBron. And I know this is outside of the NFL, but everything else is the NFL, so whatever, might as well. So LeBron, I think, is the most recent out of these groups of stories. So LeBron essentially, I don't know if he called a press conference. I'm not sure. I know he didn't answer questions afterwards, but he had asked this group of media that was there, or he had said he was curious why they didn't ask him about the Jerry Jones photo situation, and they did ask him about the Kyrie Irving thing, and he was just saying that he thought it was interesting how they covered one a lot more than the other, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, this is rhetorical, like he's not answering questions. He just kind of threw it out there. So it was him just kind of, slinging the thing around, trying to show that he big man on campus. And I get it, whatever. But it was so wrong that I didn't even know what to say. Now look, I respect LeBron. LeBron's not my favorite. As a player, I respect him. As what he's doing, I respect. And for the most part, I don't have a big beef with LeBron. It's more so like childhood fandom type stuff. I don't really have with LeBron. But overall, I do think he is kind of fake, but most people are. Most celebrities are. And also I think he's on his platform a little too much, even when he shouldn't be. And so this is one of those times. And I had to think about it because this happens so often. And this is what it is. It's a case of a valid claim, but using evidence that does not fit the claim. And it happens so often, and this is why people get upset with it, because people are not smart enough to separate the two. So they think because you have invalid evidence that the claim's invalid, and that's not really the case here. So LeBron is claiming that when it comes to black athletes, this level of scrutiny, the level of coverage by the media and everything is different than it is with other people. And there's a legit, I think, claim there to talk about. But the evidence of the Jerry Jones thing is bad evidence to back that claim up. Because there's so many things wrong with that. First of all, it was the same discussion with Brett Favre. That's how long Kyrie Irving's been out here in the news. It was the same discussion with Brett Favre and Kyrie Irving. And it's the same thing. Neither one of them are current players. First of all, first and foremost, start there. Neither Brett Favre nor Jerry Jones are current players. What a current player is doing is affecting the team right now. It's affecting the betting lines. It's affecting the standings. It's actively happening right now. Brett Favre ain't playing for nobody. And yes, Jerry Jones owns the Cowboys, but he's not out there playing. He's not impacting the product because of where he was 40, 50 years ago. And so that's number one. Number two, Kyrie Irving was suspended. He was actively disciplined in a lot of ways that people felt was unjust, but he was disciplined. And so that's always going to be more of a story than something that came from whatever. Now, the most obvious thing is, why would they ask you about Jerry Jones before Kyrie Irving? You played with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is in the same sport as you. You both are current players. Like, you spoke out yourself about the Kyrie Irving thing when nobody even asked you to. Clearly, that is where you have the stronger tie to, not to Jerry Jones and something that happened decades ago. So for me personally, I think the Jerry Jones story in general was a non-issue. But even if you thought it was an interesting piece, LeBron James is not the first name that you think about to talk about it with. What is LeBron James going to say that's profound and going to change anything? And I don't even mean that as a disrespect to LeBron, but what is anybody going to say? What has anybody added to this conversation that impacted anything? Because they can't. Now, you can talk about Jerry Jones' answers and whether it seemed real, whether it seemed sincere or smart, whatever. But all in all, you're talking about a man who is 80-something and grew up in Arkansas. Like, I'm not shocked that there's a picture like that of him. And so, and not even that, people don't even know what was happening. Like, the man was at his school. And I'm not justifying anything about Jerry Jones, but I'm just like, what is it that people expected? And what do they think is going to happen now? Like, I keep hearing people talk about, well, what about now? What happens now? Like, he was standing there. What are y'all talking about? Like, he was 14 years old. The man's 80-something. I don't even know what the story is. But again, LeBron took it upon himself to honestly, and this is where some cynical people might say, put himself in the spotlight when he didn't need to. And I think, that's a very reasonable way to look at it, because but at the same time, I do get what he was trying to get across, but I don't think that was a good example at all. I think that was a terrible example. And it kind of hurts the claim itself, which is why, again, people are so sensitive. And that kind of plays into this next story. So Lamar Jackson put out this tweet, or he basically responded to a fan. And I think this has gotten out of control on both sides. I've said before, and I have no problem saying it, Lamar Jackson is one of the most protected quarterbacks online that I've ever seen. It never is constructive talking about Lamar, and it always gets ugly quick. And according to Shannon Sharp and some other people, it seems like Lamar's that type of way himself online. And maybe that's why the other people to protect him are like that online. So I wouldn't be shocked there. I mean, obviously, that's where this story stems from. Being active online and whatever and respond. I mean, same thing with Kevin Durant. We know how that conversation goes. It's an easy way to get yourself caught up. So I think I wouldn't say ridiculous, but it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that the Lamar defenders turned this somehow into this big back and forth about him using a anti-gay phrase or whatever. Now, there are some people that I've seen in the LGBTQ community, and I don't like to lump everybody together, but they said that this isn't anti-gay or whatever, and this is why we got to stop these types of things, because it covers up actual homophobic behavior, and this kind of confuses the point. And again, the same thing I talked about LeBron, and that what we see a lot, people making claims that there's anti-gay language, rhetoric, homophobic language, whatever, but using evidence that people don't see as valid. Now, I've also seen people part of the community on the other side that said it was. The way I read it, I don't know if I could, maybe, yeah, I could see where somebody would say that it is. And that's the thing. People keep letting organizations and bodies speak for everybody. And I get it. We can't hear from everybody, and you don't need to. The only thing you need to do is realize everybody's an individual. They're going to take it different ways. So is every single person going to look at that and say that's anti-gay? No. Are there some people that will? Yes. So there's that. But they start attacking a reporter and all this and defamation of a black man, and they making up stuff. And they're like, no, it's not, man. Look at what he wrote. It's not hard to connect the dots as to somebody feeling like that's anti-gay. But then on top of that, you got a lot of people attacking the person that tweeted. And everybody's like, Lamar apologized. How come that guy doesn't have to apologize? And apologize for what? Did y'all read what he tweeted? All the man said was, if you asking for this much money, it shouldn't have to come down to the kicker. Don't pay Lamar that much money. Build a well-rounded roster. That is a perfectly reasonable football opinion. That is not an attack on Lamar as a person. That's not a threat on Lamar. That's not anything else. Lamar was 100% in the wrong. He reacted that way, an aggressive way. The player didn't make it aggressive. He didn't say F Lamar, don't give that blank no money. He didn't do any of that. He just said a very normal statement. And so, and really one of the more, reasonable statements you'll see from a fan. So to see a lot of people now after Lamar apologized trying to attack the dude that tweeted it is kind of crazy to me. But overall, I can't say it's blown out of proportion because that is a player publicly attacking a fan online. So that's something people going to talk about. But I do think on both sides it got a little out of hand. I don't think it was that serious of a thing. Okay, so moving on from that, we got Russ Wilson, which, man, if I could have laughed for real without like choking and dying, I would have been all over the floor because the birthday party thing, and I think look, that's a real conversation. I think all this is a real conversation. But come on, if you listen to me, I'm a huge fan of Draft Day. I watch it every year before the draft. And so Bo Callahan's special, the poor boy didn't have anybody come to his birthday party. And so as soon as I heard that, I was dying laughing. Even though they said half the team came. And I'm like, that's a lot of people. But still, it was funny. Because they were trying to spin it negative. And I was just like, because I've always said a lot of people call draft day over the top. Especially the whole climax with the birthday party. I'm like, I don't know. Like, during the draft, I think that's something teams would be interested in. So when it happened to Russ Wilson, that was just funny. But overall, look, I don't know what's going on with Russ. I have no clue. This is why I always say, like, there's parts of the game that we just don't know. And we won't know. For whatever reason, there's plenty of people that do not change their mind. They continue to think this is Madden. And it's just like, well, if you're not playing good, you just must suck. Like, obviously not. These are human beings. And so with whatever happened with Russ in Seattle, however he carries himself in Denver, a lot of it comes down to the losses. We know that. We know for all types of things, whether it's coaching, relationships, likability, trade, signing. Winning changes a lot of perceptions, even though the people inside know that it ain't all sweet. So the losses compound whatever is going on. I don't know what's going on with him. From the descriptions of his former teammates, from the way he moves, which I didn't really care. I mean, having a person for everything and having a team and being phone, like, it's weird because people say like Russ is corny and phony and all that. And he does a lot of stuff The Rock does. He does a lot of stuff LeBron does. He does a lot of stuff a lot of these big admired athletes do. Like, LeBron be faking the funk so many times with his books and stuff, knowing good and well he wasn't reading that book. Like, it's all types of stuff. And I'm just like, hey, chalk it up to the game. But people call him out for that. But again, when you losing, it's easy to take those shots. So it's very possible, like the Legion of Boom and other players said, that he's always been like that. And they didn't really like him like that. But they were winning, so, they kept the peace. But now Denver is a hot mess, probably for a lot of reasons. And they're talking about the birthday party thing, which is funny to talk about, but really, most people talking about the sideline thing, which that's crazy to me, man. I know a lot of people talking about how Russ reacted. I don't know how you want to react. I mean, I'm fine with it, but the fact that you would blow up at your quarterback, like he's not on your side of the ball. And honestly, it'd be anybody. If a corner went off on a receiver or a linebacker went off on a tackle, like I'd be shocked at that too. But the quarterback does magnify it a little bit because it's like, stay on your side of the ball. Whatever it is, you got, look at every team in the league. Most teams' offense don't match their defense and vice versa. So it's just like, hey, do what y'all can do what y'all got to do. We do what we got to do. You don't cross those lines. You just root for us. But, like, that's some high school stuff. And, like, that's stuff I've seen in high school where we always had bad offenses but good defenses. And you don't see that in the league, at least not that publicly. So it says a lot, but overall, I think it's more Hackett than anything. I don't think Hackett has a handle on that team in general. So, but we don't got too many games left. Denver doesn't obviously look like they're going to make the playoffs. And that pick going to go to Seattle. So that's trash for them. All right. Last up, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is starting. He's back. I've said a lot of times my thoughts on it. I see some, now that he's back, more conversations are happening. I still see these ignorant people discussing it. And look, it's the same thing I say about everything. If you look at the information and you come to a different conclusion on certain things that are subjective, then okay, that's fine. We can have that debate discussion. But if you don't ever look at the information, there's nothing to talk about. And so there's just so many people still defending this man and clearly have no idea what they're talking about. Unfortunately, Fred Taylor being one of them on the pivot. I enjoyed Fred Taylor, but that take is just ridiculous. So, yeah. But now he's basically saying that he's not going to answer any questions that's not football. And from what we heard, that's what he's been doing. And I don't know, man. I don't know how long that's going to go on, especially because it ain't a lot of season left in the Browns. I mean, they could make some moves, but they're overall not a great team. And so I don't see them going on a deep run. Now, he might get a little help from that where the playoffs kind of cover it up. But until the playoffs, I think they're going to continue to go in. But knowing this, I wouldn't say knowing him, but knowing the people around him, they probably got something set up where it's going to be like this whole tell-all interview, whatever, or he's going to go in the shop or something and try to, do it that way. But I don't know. I don't see this ever leaving him, to be quite honest, but that's just me. All right, that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.